Hey everyone, Joey here, and today we're going to be setting up Emulation Station, or ESDE, which is a popular gaming front end on Android. We're also going to be setting up ESDE second screen companion app with Mjolnir for dual screen users like the AYN Thor. It makes nice good use of that second screen if you want it. But either way, this will be a full setup guide all to do with Emulation Station on Android for single or dual screen devices. For today's guide, I'm going to assume that you have set up your emulators, you have your games, and otherwise you're all set up and have been. If you need a video to set up your emulators and a beginner's guide, my Android setup guide can help you. Just ignore the Daijisho parts of that guide as you're going to be using ESDE today instead. First up, ESDE is a paid app. You have to subscribe to their Patreon to get it. It's not a subscription. You can subscribe once to get access to the download, and you also get future updates as well. Those updates usually come through email. But if you happen to lose it for whatever reason, I'll leave a link in the description to their tool where you can just enter your email to get the latest update sent to you. Anyways, in any of the ESDE Patreon posts, there is a link to the APK that we need. Or like I said, for previous subscribers who no longer subscribe, use the link to get the most recent APK. Open that APK to install ESDE on your Android device, and then open the app. Go ahead and choose Begin Setup. First thing we need to do is give ESDE file permissions, so enable all file access. And next, we need to choose where to save all of our ESDE data. That means all the Boxart, videos, and so on. The cool part about this is if you put this data on an SD card, for example, when you move that SD card to a new device after upgrading your old device after a week, all your Boxart and scraping will come with you. Now it also tells us to name this folder as ES-DE in caps, and this is important. You want to copy exactly what I'm going to be doing. Click Select Directory, and then it is your choice. You can put this on the internal storage, or if you have one, I would suggest you put this on the SD card. Check to see that ESDE did not create the folder already. Sometimes it does on the internal storage if that's the route you're going, and if so, just select it. If not, click Create Folder, top right, usually, and name it exactly ES-DE in caps, as you see it on screen. Then choose Use this folder and allow. Next up, and this is where a lot of people usually make a mistake. The way ESDE works is it will create all of the system folders for us to put our ROMs in. So here it's saying, create a folder called ROMs, like it says, and then it's going to create all of the system folders inside of that ROMs folder for us to use. You absolutely have to use these folders or things will not work. That means no copying over your old system folders here, no renaming the folders, none of that. So let's do it. Click Select Directory. Once again, this is where your ROMs or games will be stored. So I would suggest that you use your SD card if you have one, otherwise the internal storage. Check to see if ESDE created the folder already, because again, sometimes it does. If so, just select it. If not, create a folder called ROMs, R-O-N, caps, S, lowercase, right on the root, named exactly again as you see it on screen. Click Use this folder, and then allow. And so you can see here now, ESDE wants to create the system folders for us, or you can skip this. The problem with skipping this is that ESDE is very picky about folder names. For example, PS2 needs to be named PS2 in lowercase. And what people usually do is copy their own PS2 folder with caps and everything, and that just won't work. Long story short, select Create them. Now click I understand. We're going to get an error, and that's okay. We haven't added any games yet, so this is expected. Just click Quit. Alright, so now at this point, we need to move or add our ROMs to the right system folders in that ROMs folder that we just created. So if you open your file manager and go to where you created that ROMs folder, inside you're going to see all system folders. Once again, super duper important that you move your games into the right system folder here. And you don't rename any of these folders or move any of your old folders to this folder. So just open a system that you have games for, copy and paste them inside, and then move on to the next system. You can do all of this on a PC if you want, and that's easier. Just connect your Android device using a USB cable. Some devices will instantly ask for a file transfer. Others you have to swipe down, tap the charging notification, and change it to file transfer. Once you're all done, head back to ESD, and this time you're going to see system icons, and your games will be inside of them. This is all awesome, we're almost there. But let's change some settings. Push start on the main screen, and then let's head to input device settings. Then turn off enable touch overlay to remove the on-screen controls. You want to do this if you have a controller or a handheld. Back out and into game collection settings, then into automatic game collections. I like to enable both favorites and last played to be shown. These will show up on the home screen as options to browse. Back out and this time head to UI settings and then theme downloader. Click proceed. This part is going to be totally personal preference, but you can browse the available themes to find the one that you like. I like Artbook Next, that's one of the ones I've always used, so I'm just going to choose that to download it. Back out when whatever you've chosen is done downloading, and change the theme from linear, which is the default, to whatever you chose. If you back out now, you're going to see that that theme is now applied on the main screen. It's awesome. Push start to get back into the menu, and then head to Scraper. So obviously you're going to want to get Boxart and videos and so on, and you can do all of that here. Scraper uses Screen Scraper, which is actually a website that you're going to want to go register on to get a free account. It allows you to do a lot more scraping before you hit the limit. Then head to account settings and you want to input that username and password from the Screen Scraper website right here, and then click back. Now this is very important. Scraping takes a very long time. You'll probably want to do maybe one system a day or something. So under Scrape These Systems, you can choose which system to start with. Under content settings, you can choose what to scrape and what not to. It's your choice. I personally don't touch any of these settings under mix image or other, but it's up to you. Just click start when ready and it'll start scraping. Now, if you're ever like, oh no, I want to go do literally anything else with my time besides scraping, and you stop it, next time, just choose no metadata under Scrape These Games, and it'll avoid rescraping all of the games that you already did. Now, you're likely going to run into a bunch of games that you could not find artwork for. So just find the game in the list and push select, then edit this game's metadata. Scroll down to scrape and it's going to try and find some options to present to you. If none of them work, click cancel and then try renaming the game name to something else to get a closer match, and then click scrape again. If still nothing shows, you can try heading back to Scraper and changing scrape from to the games DB instead, and then change Scrape These Games to no metadata, and then choose your system and see if it'll find it from that source instead. For me, it found it exactly, so it worked. Praise the Lord, hallelujah. Next up, let's get our Android apps imported because ESD does this a little bit more weirdly than other launchers on Android. You need to import your Android apps every time one of them changes. So push start, head to utilities, and then game importer. The first option is what you want to import, and we want Android apps. So click start. You should now see all of your Android apps. So scroll down and click select all and then import. Back out and you should now see all of your Android apps as an icon, and you can launch them now from Emulation Station. Basically, this is a necessity for us to use this launcher as a home launcher. Now, you might be wondering, what if you download a new app or you remove one? Does this list update? The answer is no. You have to go back to Game Importer and change Remove Entries to All Unselected. You're going to get a warning, just click Yes. Now just select All again and import. This is going to remove any deleted apps and it'll only keep what you added. Alternatively, set Remove Entries to Never and click Start, and you can manually choose whatever new app to add to the list. At this point, it is now safe to set this app as the home app to start when you start the device. So head to your Android settings, Apps, Default Apps, Home App, and choose ESDE. Now we come to the absolute fun part. The most important part of today's guide, and that's telling ESD what emulators and cores that we use, and also setting those up properly. First, ESD is actually missing a ton of emulators by default, so we need to add those in. Head to the GitHub in my description, and you want to download the es_find_rules and es_systems files from whatever the latest release is. If you're ever missing a few emulators, you'll want to come here and update these files in the future. Once you download them, you want to move them to your ESDE folder, wherever you created it at the start of the guide, and into the custom_systems folder. Make sure that the file names end in XML. If yours downloaded as TXT files, remove the TXT from the file name. They have to be XML. Close and reopen ESDE. Alright, now push start and head to other settings and then alternative emulators. At this point, you should see all of the systems that you have games for on the left. And on the right is what emulator or core ESDE is going to use to launch those games. It is super important that the emulators here match what you actually use. It is also important to note, if the name does not have standalone in it, that means it's a RetroArch core. Otherwise, emulators with standalone are the standalone emulators. So you want to scroll through and make sure that everything here matches the emulator or core that you use to play that system. Let me point out a few trouble spots, or at least the obvious ones. The first is for GC and Wii, which is GameCube and Wii. ESDE defaults to the RetroArch core for some ungodly reason. So you want to change those to Dolphin Standalone, which is what everybody in the world uses to play GameCube and Wii games. For 3DS, do you want to use Azahar? If so, great, that's the default. If not, you can change it. For N64, do you use Mupen 64 Plus Next in RetroArch? If so, great, that's the default. If not, and you use M64 Plus FZ, the standalone emulator, just change it. One thing about N64 that I show in all of my device setup guides, you need to make sure that polling behavior is set to early in RetroArch settings and then the input section. Then, when you make that change, go back to main menu, configuration file, and save current configuration. If you don't do this, when you boot up a lot of N64 games from any front end, the controls will not work. You'll notice this a lot in Ocarina of Time. If you've ever had the controls not work booting from a front end, this is the reason why. And this is how you fix it. For Nintendo DS, if you're using a Thor, you're not using the Melon DS core in RetroArch. So change this to Melon DS Standalone, or Melon DS Nightly Standalone if you're using that. Single screen users are fine with Melon DS. For NES, it's defaulting to Messen, but if you followed my guides, we usually use FCEUMM. For PS2, despite it saying Aether SX2, it works for Nether SX2. For PSP, like GameCube and Wii, for some ungodly reason, it is defaulting to the PPSSPP core in RetroArch, which nobody uses, so change this to PPSSPP Standalone. For PSX, which is PlayStation 1, it's defaulting to Beetle PSX, but if you followed my guides, we're using the RetroArch Swan Station core or DuckStation Standalone. Then for Switch, Eden Standalone is the default, which is good, unless you're using a different Switch emulator. Lastly, make sure to change Wii to Dolphin Standalone. Now, you might be thinking that we're done, but oh no, we are not done. All we did there was tell ESDE what emulators and cores to use and what we use. And now we have to fix our emulators to work with ESDE. It's a give and take relationship here. Both sides need to be told what to do. This next part assumes that you put all of your games in the right spot, the system folders within that ROMs folder that we created with ESDE. So let's start with Azahar. Open Azahar, head to the three dots top left, then select Applications folder, and you want to select the N3DS folder inside of the ROMs folder that we created with ESDE. Back to the main screen of Azahar, and you should see all of your games populate. When they're done, exit Azahar. If you try and boot a 3DS game now in ESDE, it'll work. For CMU, open CMU, head to the dots top right, Settings, General Settings, and click Add Game Path. Remove whatever is here, and then click the plus icon. Navigate to the ROMs folder, then the Wii U folder. Back to the main screen of CMU to see all of your games populate, and when they're done, exit CMU. If you try and boot a Wii U game now in ESDE, it'll work. Next up, open Dolphin, click Add Games at the bottom, navigate to the ROMs folder, then the GC folder, and select it. Then select the Wii tab, navigate to the ROMs folder, then the Wii folder, and select it. Wait for all of your games to populate, then exit Dolphin. If you try and boot a GameCube or Wii game now in ESDE, it'll work. DuckStation is next, so open DuckStation, click the 3 lines top left, App Settings, scroll over to Game List, remove whatever is here, and then click the plus icon. Navigate to the ROMs folder and then the PSX folder. Click back to the main DuckStation screen to have your games populate, and then exit DuckStation. If you try and boot a DuckStation game now in ESDE, it'll work. But one quick note about DuckStation. If you're using M3U files, at least how most people do them, they don't work properly in DuckStation coming from a front end. You're going to get an error that says failed to open CD image if you're using a normal M3U. I'll leave a link in the description to how you need to set them up for DuckStation to work. But it's honestly just such a hassle. And when you do all of that, it only works with DuckStation. So I just don't personally use a front end for DuckStation games because of all of this. Next up is Melon DS, so open your Melon DS emulator, click the 3 dots top right, Settings, ROMs, Search Directory, and click the existing one to remove it, and then navigate to your ROMs folder and then the NDS folder. Back to the main Melon DS screen to have your games populate, and then exit Melon DS. If you try and boot up a Melon DS game now in ESDE, it'll work. Let's open up Nether SX2 next. Click the 3 lines top left, App Settings, scroll over to Game List, remove whatever is here, and then click the plus icon, navigate to the ROMs folder and then the PS2 folder. Click back to the main Nether SX2 screen to have your games populate, and then exit Nether SX2. If you try and boot up a PS2 game now in ESDE, it'll work. Open PPSSPP, the Games tab, and then click Browse. Navigate to the ROMs folder and then the PSP folder. Click back to the main PPSSPP screen to have your games populate, and then exit PPSSPP. If you try and boot up a PSP game now in ESDE, it'll work. Open your Switch emulator. I am using AYN, so head to Settings, Manage Game Folders, remove anything that's here, and then click the plus icon, navigate to the ROMs folder, and then the Switch folder inside. Back to the main Switch emulator home screen, wait for your games to populate, then exit AYN. If you try and boot a Switch game now in ESDE, it'll work. Now for RetroArch, you don't need to make any changes to it, minus the N64 change that we made earlier. However, never ever exit a RetroArch game using the home button on your device. That is a great way to corrupt your saves and also break some things. For example, here I am in a Super Nintendo game, and I'm going to push the home button on the device to get back to ESDE. Then I'm going to try another game, and it's not going to load. This happens because you didn't exit RetroArch properly. What you want to do is always use the quit hotkey to exit RetroArch back to ESDE or any front end. And I show you how to set up the proper hotkeys in my Android setup guide. You should actually never exit any emulator with the home button of your device. Make it a habit to exit those emulators properly, which once again, I show in that Android setup guide. And that's it. If you followed my steps correctly, you are all good to go. Your games boot, you have artwork, all is right in the world. Go off and enjoy the endless scrolling of games that you just will never play. Now for Thor users, we have something extra special, and it's the ESDE second screen companion app. Head to the GitHub in the description and download whatever the latest release APK is. It's the one without the H in the file name. If you're someone who uses Obtainium, you can click Get It on Obtainium to add it to your Obtainium to get updates easily. Open the APK to install it and then launch the app. Click the bottom right to start. First thing we need to do is grant permission for storage. So click Grant Permission and then allow access and then head back. We now need to point this app to our ESDE scripts folder. The easiest way to do this is click Select Folder, then navigate to your ESDE folder, which is either on the root of your internal storage or SD card following today's guide. Then you want to click the scripts folder and select Use this folder. The app now needs to create some scripts to run, so click Create Scripts. Once again, we need to point the app to where our ESDE media is. So click Select Folder, Navigate to your ESDE folder again, and then the downloaded_media folder and select use this folder. Lastly, we have to enable scripts to run in ESDE. So go ahead and open ESDE and push start. Then head to other settings and turn on custom event scripts and browsing custom events. Head back to the companion app and click I've enabled scripts bottom right. At this point, just give this screen a read to understand how everything works. When you're done, click Got It bottom right. Go ahead and browse a game or system in ESDE to start the connection. Now, if it's easier, just open ESDE Companion on the bottom screen. You will have to search for it to find it, and then it'll pop up and it'll move down there on the bottom screen. Then, since we've already set ESDE as the home app, just click Home at the top and it should pop right back up. Navigate around and the bottom screen should match up to what you're doing on the top screen. You can also swap them around if you want, ESDE on the bottom and companion app on the top, just by opening ESDE on the bottom screen. And we're set up for this. Now, some cool things that you can do: swipe up on the ESDE companion app screen, and you can get all of your apps, and it's kind of an app drawer, so it's super easy. Long press any app, and you can choose which screen to launch to, which is super useful. The top right 3 lines will get you to settings for the companion app, or the settings cog next to it will get you to Android settings. But let's jump into the 3 lines, and there's some settings here. They're all pretty self-explanatory, they all tell you what they do, so it's up to you on if you want to change anything or do anything here. I personally just leave it as default. Okay, and now the very last thing that we need for Thor users to connect all of this together is an app called Mjolnir, and it completes everything. Head to the Mjolnir GitHub and download the latest releases APK. Go ahead and open it and install it, then open the app. Click Basic Home Setup, and now you want to set which app you want to be where. So maybe top screen would be ESDE and bottom would be ESDE Companion, or vice versa. We took a look at what both of them look like earlier, so it's really your call. But you can always just reopen Mjolnir later if you want to swap them around. Then click Next. Now we just need to update our default home apps to this new layout. So click Set Default Home and change it to Mjolnir. Now we have everything set up to boot to this double layout when the device starts up or when you push the home button. And really, that's finally it for today. This video was long, it was dense, but I wanted to get everything ESDE in one total video for everybody to be able to watch. I hope this video helps, and I hope it clarifies a lot of issues that people have been having in today's guide, and you can find out how to fix them. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro handhelds. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.